So, this is how my hair is looking. I actually like it though. A whole bunch of little knots. So yeah. It's just, this guy, like, when I bought my vape, this other guy had a vape. And he was like a vape head. Like, I'm not a vape head, but he was a vape head because he had like a few vapes. And he was showing me his vape, and he had this candy cane vape. And it tastes just like a candy cane. And he was like, I was like, that's sweet, but I'm not the type to get hooked to, I don't want to get hooked. I don't want to be tricked by the flavor. These vapes are meant for non-cigarette, those who are weaning themselves off cigarettes. He was talking about the best though. And he was like, you gotta stand, you have to, he was like, we can stand here, but 9 times out of 10, if it's not a consistent bus driver, they are going to pass right by us. And I'm like, well, if they do that, well, he said because we have to go to the end of the road, and I'm like, no, they can't tell you to go to the end of the road because cars, pull out that way. So anyway, there's like a parking lot. I don't know. He was just all over the place though. And then he started talking about how, but I did tell him that, if they do that, you can just tell on the bus driver because they're not supposed to do that. If they pass by you without stopping and saying that you have to go to like an intersection, so you can't go, you can't block the intersection. So the fact that they told him that he had to go to the end of the street, I'm like, no, that's wrong. And if they do that, I would immediately call and report that bus because they're not supposed to do that. So yeah, and then we started talking about, what else did we talk about? Then he was talking about how he used to be Uber. His friend was with him, and his friend was telling him how he used to be an Uber driver. Well, telling us that he used to be an Uber driver, and I'm like, well, he said, but he lost his car, and then we got on the topic of me losing my car as well when I was about to pursue Uber driving, and he was like, yeah, I don't know why we gotta have a license to be an Uber driver. And I'm like, well, you have to have license and insurance to be an Uber driver or a Lyft driver or any type of driver, DoorDash driver, because if you don't, you're carrying passengers. So therefore, these passengers' lives are in your hands. So you better be grateful they are asking for that stuff, because if you get into a wreck or something and somebody in your back seat, that could fall on you. So then he was talking about how his wife or something like that, he was talking about his wife and his kids and the situation. I'm just like, But we had a decent conversation overall, but I was just like, yeah, it was just a decent conversation. He was talking about how his baby mom or something was his baby mom's kids. Well, his baby mom had stolen his kids from him or something like that. And it's because he smoked weed. And he had to kind of come down from the high to kind of ground himself to the situation. There's times like those, when you can't really do what you want to do, and because your kids need you, and you always need to stay woke to the situation. So yeah, he was talking about that, and I'm like, and I brought up the topic. I'm like, well, my daughter's dad keep my daughter from me, and I'm not even on drugs. So everybody got their issues, and then he was like, I guess his child's family doesn't really get along with him, and I'm like, we kind of related in the same way because my my daughter's dad's family don't get along with me, and I'm like, they probably always chirping in his ear and talking about I'm a bad mom and this and that, and that's why we got joint custody, and I can go fight for rights. But like I said, being in my position, I got a lot of stuff to do, and I can't just, focus on one situation when I got another child over here that depends on me. So then we started talking about, what else did we talk about? Then we started talking about our housing, and he was like, yeah, this the hood, this and that. I'm like, it's not really the hood. It's not the hood. I don't know why people say this is the hood, because if it's the hood, you telling me something that I don't know, because he literally said that his baby mom got into these apartments with no income or barely any income. I'm like, how do you get into apartments that's income-based when you don't have an income? And if so, it's like, I always wondered that, like, did they get over on me with my money? Like, did they rip me off, or did they do something? Because when I was on disability, I was receiving like $650 a month on top. Well, no, I didn't have a job at the time because I had just got here, so I was receiving $650 a month. I was receiving child support, and basically, I had money saved up. Like, I didn't just leave with no money. I left with money. Like, I had my stimulus check, so I got my car, and I was just, saving on top of the extra money. So I came here with over $1,000 when I got into the shelter. So I was just sitting around waiting, letting that money build up a little bit more so that I can get into get into this apartment. And when I got into this apartment, I had to pay, I think, a month's electric on top of rent, 2 months rent on top of electric. So I was like, I got in here, it cost me over $1,000 to get in this apartment. So I'm just like, how is this the hood if you don't have a foot in the door, you're expected to pay just the amount. And then that's the thing, these apartments, if you look online, one apartment is like, it says like the rent is probably over $100 in rent. I would say $250 or $350 for this 2-bedroom apartment. Do that sound like the hood to y'all? Like, this is not the hood. I said, if anything, welfare is the hood, and Section 8 is the hood. They're income based, but on top of that, you can have a house and be paying $6 in rent. And on welfare, any welfare, like it's like set up for low income families. But low income housing, that is not the hood, and that's something y'all need to understand. That is not the hood. Once your foot in the door, and you got to do what you got to do to, maintain where you at, because you're not in the same position of when you first got into these apartments, then yeah, it seems as though you are in a hood. But to get into these apartments costs an arm and a leg. And I was like, well, maybe she was in a different situation than I was, because the fact that she didn't have, I don't know nobody else's experience, because with all my apartments, I was working, so it's just like I was expected to pay more than anybody else, like $350. I was paying almost $200 more, $180 something for electric, and then I was paying like almost $200, if not over $200, for my rent. So it's just like, what? So please, like, I need to understand y'all experience with y'all apartments. Like, if y'all don't have income and y'all get into an apartment, like, y'all income is like, what, $50, and then your rent would probably be like $25, and then you got electric, so getting in here would be like probably $150 on your income. 2 months rent, that's at $50, so 2 months rent will be about, I would say, on a bridge of $300, and then that's at $50.
2 months rent. So $200. And then your electric, you have to pay electric. So the electric bill, I had to pay electric before I even got in here. So it's 2 months rent of electric. So that's how much you would pay. So I'm just like, whatever, you can't get into this apartment without income. And when you have income, it's an arms and a leg just to get inside the apartment. So that's what I'm saying. This is not the ghetto, and this is not, you know, it's just not the ghetto. Like, that's what I'm saying. I just don't understand when people say that, because it's not the ghetto. Like, please tell me where, how, you know, because like I said, she was one of the lucky ones, because like I said, I grew up thinking if I didn't have a job, like, I couldn't get anywhere. So it's just like I always had a job regardless. I always had income regardless. Anywhere that I went into, I had income. So it's just like I never got the experience to where I didn't have income and got into somewhere, you know. So that's where it just kind of gets me. It's just like, what? You know, y'all confusing me. So yeah. So that's what we were talking about. I guess, like I said, he said it's a ghetto, or it looked like the ghetto, because a lot of people, they aren't in the same situation as when they got here. So it's just like, they're in, they got their foot in the door, so it's just, you know, they just taking it from there. If they lose their job, they lose their job, and now they still got their apartment, so it's just like, they good. If they lose their job, because it's all based on your income. But when you're getting in here, I'm gonna show y'all, I'm gonna look up how much the apartments and stuff is, and I'm gonna show y'all exactly what I'm talking about, because this is not the ghetto. This ain't the ghetto. This is far from the ghetto. So yeah, it may be the ghetto to them just for the fact that he's white, and he's probably, you know, used to living in a nicer lifestyle, you know, he's on the upper scale. He's not used to poverty or struggle or anything like that. So this to him could be the ghetto, but this to me is not the ghetto. It all depends on what you're used to in, you know, your life situation. This is definitely not the ghetto, you know, but it's the ghetto to them. So yeah. This vape is not like other vapes. This is so toxic. It was $20. He sold it to me for $15 because their cheapest vapes was $20. Yeah, the cheapest vapes was $20. I went to get the $15 vapes, but they was out of stock. So he gave it to me for $15 instead of $20. But the quality of this is horrible. The taste, you know, I chose the taste for a specific reason. It's lemon cola, so it's cool. The taste is cool, but the quality is horrible. I never tasted a vape so bitter. This is very, very bitter. But at least it's disposable. I ain't got to hold on to it for too long. So, yeah. Just like people will go to wine or something like that. This is that's what I see this as. So, yeah. For now, like I said, I'm not going to be doing this for too long at all. I just needed a break from my salt neck that weaned me off of this, but I'm not even weaned onto this anymore. So that's a good thing. It's a full battery. But I feel like I'm smoking a cigarette when I hit it, though. But it's 5% nicotine. I wish they didn't sell such a high capacity of nicotine. Like, I wish they sold like 1 or 2% nicotine vapes, but it's rare to find vapes that's 1 or 2 nicotine percent. And I don't know why they only sell 5%, or, you know, the best. I mean, it's rare to come across 3%. I came across 3% once upon a time. This is horrible. It's like, it's horrible. Like I said, I probably won't be keeping this on. I might toss it earlier than expected. But I just needed it for that moment, honestly. Honestly, I just needed it for that moment. But yeah.
Remember to like, comment, and
This is
subscribe.
Breeze Prime.
Be notified
It definitely
and
does not taste
share
like a regular vape.
at your own free will
The ones that I'm used to.
to show you care.
So yeah, that is my vent of the night, and I just need to vent. And talk a little bit about what happened today in my conversations with people. With that being said, I am out.